Thank you for looking after Brightville.
Goodbye, Roz. I am honored to have met you. You are a credit to whatever species it is you belong to.
A bit worse for wear, I'm afraid.
I'd say you shine like new.
What are you waiting for, Hortensia? This migration isn't gonna fly itself.
I saw the migration scene fairly clearly from the very first time I read it. I had that sequence down in my head, almost shot for shot. I knew exactly how it would be.
The migration sequence has always been the centerpiece of the film. It's the culmination of Roz and Brightbill's respective journeys, getting to a point where they have to work together.
Does he think he's coming with us?
And the scene was created in an epic scope to convey the tremendous intensity of nature and of life.
This flight is thousands of unforgiving miles. It has shaped us and tested us over millennia. Now, join your families and good luck.
That's the scene that we have to build everything else around, because we really had to earn that moment, and Kris boarded the whole thing himself. He was a hero of mine since I was a kid. I grew up looking at his drawings in The Art of the Lion King, and it's a dream come true in every way. It's just a beautiful embodiment of Roz's journey as a mom. I cry every time I see it, and I watch it many times, but it still gets me every time.
This flight is a gift Roz has given you.
Yeah, I understand.
No, you don't. You see any other geese here your size? The accident that killed your family saved you.
I never thought of it that way.
Funny how life works.
You really see how that relationship with Brightville introduces Roz to the concept of love. And as she becomes more of a mother in raising Brightville, she's able to reprogram herself to access something more akin to what we would call human empathy, expression, and emotion.
Right before Brightville flies away, there's a moment that I wrote into the script where she says,
"Thank you for looking after
and she catches herself and says, for looking after Brightville. And so she almost said, kid. It's an examination of what does it really mean to be a kid and what does it really mean to be a parent.
Roz?
I'm fine. Go again."
We use sponge texture, scratches, brush strokes, all kinds of things that you would find in kind of traditional painting. We've actually layered our world with that because we really wanted this sequence to feel like an illustration come to life. We wanted all those painterly touches, but we still wanted to be able to follow our characters through a believable dimensional world.
Ready?
Not only do you have minimal dialogue, you have a reliance on visuals and music, and it all comes together to create this incredible storytelling moment that is going to stick with you for the rest of your life.
We partner with our friends in the crowds department, and we develop a lot of flying cycles with them, and they can take the heavy burden of thousands of characters.
It's 5,000-6,000 geese, but it's all kind of crowd magic. We initially make the 2 male and female geese, and then they duplicate it, and then they look like 1,000 different kind of geese.
Brightbill, follow me!
We create them at the beginning, so each goose might have 4,000 to 5,000 feathers on them, and we have helped place all of the individual feathers in 6,000 birds with probably 5,000 feathers apiece.
Well, guess it's time.
Yes.
Will you be here when I get back?
No.
At a certain point, the characters stop talking and we just need to move through this very difficult moment. And music is the engine that pulls us through these things. It decides the scale of how we're going to feel.
Migration sequence is really the sequence that kind of cracked the code on the sound of this film. It was actually what caused me to arrive at the main theme for the film. And the first time I wrote this pretty sweet and happy piece of music. Kris reminded me that, to imagine, I just had a baby, like imagine you're saying goodbye to your daughter going off to college or, going out into the world. At first I was like, oh, that's what I did imagine. Then Kris reminded me how bittersweet this moment is. They are at a point of tension that they are not saying, I love you. They're not really saying goodbye to one another. They don't know if they're gonna see each other ever again, and I hadn't even considered thinking about that version of saying goodbye to my daughter. And I remember going back home and just thinking about all the emotions that brought up for me and writing from that place. Kris really wanted the cue to have this kind of forward motion from the very beginning of the entrance of the music. Something you mentioned was almost like a train that's leaving the station and wanting to have that feeling already from the beginning of the music because we know where it's going. It started with just that piano motor, which... So just with that, and eventually we found this ostinato, this string pattern that's playing a bit of what becomes the main theme over that. So it's... And eventually they even start playing it at double time. And that continues this feeling of anticipation and all that until we grow into the final main theme, which is...
And what you did, it came in waves. And I think that was the thing that was really it was perfect because Roz has developed a certain level of emotion, and I don't think she really understood that until this moment. And then there's, after Bright Bill disappears, she does something that's uncharacteristic. She starts to run. It's an unprogrammed moment. What you did, it comes in these ever-increasing waves, like you're standing on a shore and the music is hitting you repeatedly and getting bigger and bigger. As she's looking up and Bright Bill is flying off, she doesn't realize that she's been heading towards an emotional cliff that she hadn't been thinking about at all. She does accomplish that task. She gets Bright Bill, her little gosling, into the air, and what's next?
One of the coolest things, I think, is that they shied away from giving Roz a human-like face. Rosm 7134, task complete. Her face is just 2 circles, and therefore she doesn't have expression as we would expect it, and yet there's so much empathy we get from her as she evolves into a more individualized being. How do you know if you love something, someone?
If you do, you should probably tell them.
What if it is too late?
I wouldn't know.
Roz? Roz! Hey! What are you doing here?
I may have turned off the transmitter. Even though Bright Bill does not want me here, I needed to know if he made it.
Breaking the rules? I thought you had to do what they told you.
It is good to see a friend. Wait, why are you awake?
It is bad out there. Worst storm I've ever seen. Cold got to me in my den, and I got a deep den.
Are others in danger?
And it's the worst winter that anybody's ever seen on this island.
Are you sure about this? We could have the whole island to ourselves come spring.
Why are you interested in eliminating everyone else from this island?
No one likes me?
Nor me. But right now, we are their only chance.
This is the worst storm that the island has ever experienced. So the animals are in a lot of trouble, and it's up to Roz and Fink
here
to help save all of them and bring them back to the lodge where they have some safety.
Can you find more?
Snow on the Wild Robot was not easy.
I'm fine.
We had a very specific kind of snow. We wanted the top to be icy and crunchy, but still sort of fluffy. Us in effects, we ended up painting on little frost onto Fink's fur, hence Fink Frost.
Funny how life works.
Okay.
Mom? Oh, we're gonna be okay.
For Roz, she's changing aesthetically to become more like the world. Look at how the snow is applied to her. It kind of scrapes of brushstrokes onto her chest.
Don't give up.
Water is kind of a natural phenomenon that's really difficult to control and art direct. We built tools to sculpt things and push the different peaks of the water. You know, we're really thinking about how these things would be constructed by an artist's hand. This shot specifically, where she's saving the otters, this was an homage to Peter Brown's illustrations, where you see Roz first appear as a silhouette up against the background. So you'll see that the foam has brushstrokes, the splatters of paint for kind of spray of water. You see the atmosphere kind of has texture inside of it.
The interesting thing about this particular bit, it's what I would term a house for music that we build. To me, it's very important for there to be moments where the characters don't talk and Kris's music literally becomes the voice of the scene.
You don't look so good.
Is everyone accounted for?
Maybe one more.
It was an exciting moment to stretch the capabilities of Roz's theme. And for Roz's theme, we knew that part of that theme would be her advertisement music, essentially this Universal Dynamics I Am Rosm 7134 music. So my first thought with this was to build this driving ostinato out of that chime. And so the ostinato you hear in the beginning is like a variation on that chime for Roz, because in my mind, this is, you know, an incredible task that she's taking on. But when I was conceiving of her theme, I also thought it'd be great to have a B section to her theme that might be representing moments where she's going beyond that programming. This sequence, for me, it was a moment to try to figure out how to take bits from both sides of those themes and really focus on this B side of her theme as this heroic moment for her.
What's he doing here? Oh, great. This'll help. Get out of here. I worked hard on this!
Think. What is happening?
You put a bunch of predators and their food supply in one room. Who knew? That's my lunch!
Think.
What?
Help them.
Quiet!
I know you all have instincts that keep you alive. But sometimes, to survive, We must become more than we were programmed to be.
Roz is an unrelentingly kind character. She's got this innocence and this drive to help that was programmed into her. In this wild place that she was never really designed to be, the more damage she takes, the more she learns.
She goes through the forest to save all these animals that have ostracized her, to save them and bring them all together, which then leads to the truce scene. The forest changes her, and she changes the forest with her kindness.
In that scene, from a technical standpoint, we've got hundreds of animals inside a small area. And so we're dealing with collisions and simulations of just the mass quantity of animals. We didn't just simulate the hair on top, we simulated the skin. So the skin is actually moving all around, which gives a whole lot of life to it.
Roz starts to become a mother, not just to this little goose, she becomes a mother really to the entire island.
When you're working on a film like this, you're just constantly revealing something new. Every new sequence you're working on becomes your favorite sequence.
Everyone who came onto this film exceeded my wildest dreams as far as what we have achieved. You see the hands of the artists everywhere. You see their fingerprints. There's an analog warmth that comes from that there is no substitute for.